Checkout tracking by the NPD Group brings you a receipt collecting system that gathers data anonymously through technology we created, providing your businesses with answers.
Nice. So a correction, I'm not the CEO, unfortunately. Maybe in a few years. So, hello everyone. I'm going to talk today about why VR may be the key to bringing casual, or VR to the casual why casual games may be the key to bringing VR to the masses. My name is CA, so I was introduced. This is Resolution Games, or was until a few months ago. We're 5 founders. And we sit in a small, cozy office. We're now 9 people, but we have almost the same size office, so it's still warm and cozy. The agenda for today is an introduction to VR for those who are not so familiar with it. I'm going to give you 2 reasons to why Resolution believes in casual games. And I'm going to tell you about the lesson learned, or how we came to this conclusion that casual games is probably very good for VR. So, virtual reality. It has been around for a long time, and it has a slightly bit of different meaning for all of us. In its simplest, virtual reality is a virtual environment. Kind of like the one you see here. You have a castle and a few hills and a sky. So that's pretty nice. But the cool thing about a virtual environment is when you can use good hardware and enter these virtual environments, and you can convince your brain that you are a part of it. Instead of experiencing some hardware and a software, you experience a different world. Then you can experience other environments like rainforests or Antarctica or even Mars within seconds in between. So the reason why this works is because VR is tricking the brain, kind of. And Moore's law has now caught up with VR, and what can be presented in these head-mounted displays is the same thing that the brain expects to see if it was looking around in the physical world. When you do this really well, you gain presence. Presence is the highest form of immersion, and that's when your brain believes that you are a part of this environment. And presence is truly VR magic. It's the fairy dust of VR. It's really hard to explain. You have to experience it, as the classic saying goes. But Michael Abresh, Chief Scientist Officer of Oculus, gives a solid try. He says, presence is when you're in a completely empty demo room, but you can't help but reach out to touch the cube in front of you. Or when you don't dare to step off that ledge. Presence is taking off the device and being disoriented, finding yourself back in reality. So, VR can be split up. The displays can be split up in a few different categories. You have mobile. It's disconnected and not tethered. You basically put your cell phone as a display and for the processing power, so it has very limited graphical qualities. You have tethered, and they're usually connected via cord to a PC or a console. They have much better graphical qualities, but not as portable as the mobile ones. And they're also more expensive. The headset itself is more expensive than the mobile counterparts, and you also need a console or a PC. An outlier is the HTC Vive, which offers portability and quality by walking around in a 15 by 15 by 15 volume. It can track your hands and feet. So, for input, you have a lot of different alternatives, but the few that almost all of them have is a gyro. You can track the rotation of the device. Microphones, most of them have, which is increasingly more interesting. And some kind of button as well. Then you also have extra hardware you can put on. And then you can gain hand tracking with Leap Motion. You can put in a gamepad, anything with Bluetooth. You can have omnidirectional treadmills, which you run in every direction. And you can have systems that track your hands and feet in space. You also have eye tracking in some devices. So, why casual? The 2 reasons why casual is so good for VR. The first one is that casual is cybersec friendly. The first thing that people think about when you talk about VR is usually something like this. Huge environments, open worlds where every object is interactable, everything is possible. But it's a bit of bad news because it's not going to happen. It's hard to do well yet because moving the camera in VR is actually really hard. This depends, it is because of cyber sickness. I'm going to try to succinctly explain this to you here. So cyber sickness is a motion sickness, but it's induced in a virtual environment. It's very similar symptoms, and it's very unpleasant. You can have disorientation, sweating, nausea, and gastric activity, such as burping, are pretty common. And it's pretty bad because many people are susceptible. About 85% of people can get it on a fair basis. And the people that are immune are the ones with a broken vestibular sense. So they don't have any inner ear. It builds up over time. So even if you have a kind of a small offset or a little bit of a bad game, if you play it for 20 minutes, you will still get sick. So that's too bad. And it can last for quite some time. It's been reported up to 12 hours, but that's pretty rare. But over an hour is not uncommon. So, how can we eliminate cyber sickness as much as we can through software? There's two major reasons for why we get cyber sickness in software. And it's vestibular mismatch. And that's basically when the camera accelerates in the virtual world and your head in the real world does not. So you have a mismatch between what the eye thinks is happening and the inner ear thinks is happening. And the fix here is pretty easy. Like, you only move the camera when you move your real head. So you don't have a car that's driving back and forth, and yeah, you just have it stuck. Vection is another one. It's the illusion of self-motion. And basically when you're sitting still in real life and you think you're going somewhere because your eyes tells you you are. And yeah, the camera moves when the head does not. And the fix here is the same, only move the camera one-to-one in real life. The difference between this is that one is about acceleration, the other one is about velocity. But the fix is still the same. So it is kind of an easy fix, but it's what works pretty well right now. You have a stationary camera, so you basically don't move around so much in the environment. With this, we imagine several types of games. We have puzzles. We have calmer games. We focus on the experience. Hidden object games. Yeah, soft values, like you can focus on the presence, on characters and storytelling. So that's why we believe that, one of the reasons why we believe casual is good. The other one is casual market. We believe it's going to be fairly substantial. A very solid question to ask yourself when you talk about VR is, where is it going to be used? And as soon as you put it on, when your friends are around, you might notice that they're starting to mess with you. And even if they're not, you kind of think they are, or you have no idea because you're socially disconnected. We call this social occlusion, and we think it will impact how and when you use VR. Most likely in your home or in your office, and not when you have friends around. So, home. As a gamer, the console rules. I'm an Xbox fan. I'm a diehard Halo fan. And when I bought the Master Chief Edition, I put it in the Xbox. I had about 90 minutes to play. The first thing that hits me is this, 15 gigabytes of updates. And it's for a certain niche of gamer. It doesn't fit me in my current life, and I still consider myself a gamer. We think that consoles, even though they have a place in the home, they might be very focused on the 90s and not so consumer-friendly as other services have become. We believe that VR can become bigger than just for the console gamers of today. We believe it can be a platform like mobile, where it offers a spectrum of experiences, from games to entertainment and other apps. And we believe it can be streamlined to fit the consumer and the gaming patterns for today. We see some advantages with using this multi-purpose device. You probably have one, even if you don't like VR. It's very connected to the free-to-play model, which we like as well. And it's pretty cheap to try out VR if you already have a cell phone. So to illustrate with a graph, because everyone likes graphs, this is the adoption rate of different platforms. And you have on the y-axis, you have millions of sold units, and on the x-axis, you have quarters after launch for each platform. In the bottom, you see the consoles. Wii, Xbox 360, and PS3, and they're linear. You have this exponential, soaring, beautiful curves, which everyone likes, and they're Android and iOS mobile. We believe that VR has an opportunity to fit here. It's not as hardcore as console, but it's more gaming than what the mobile can offer. And we think it has a place in every home. Right now, where gamer is very connected to a teen boy in our world, we believe it's going to be a very short period in the history of video games. Games are and should be for everyone. So we think it will be very suitable at home, and we think it's can maybe not replace or not be a console, but something similar to it for very many people. All right. Do I have time? So, or how much? 15. Thanks. So, even if casual is going to be a small market, we still believe in VR. We think it's just amazing. The new technical aspects for games it brings, an unprecedented sense of presence, is just mind-blowing. If you haven't tried VR, you should go try it out immediately. So, how did we come to this conclusion? Kind of our first struggling steps. We started in January, so we're a pretty fresh gaming company. And in the beginning, we wanted exercise. We thought that would be pretty cool. So we decided we're going to use an exercise bike for input. And it was also pretty good because input was a big question mark in VR, so maybe we could learn something there. We also had an idea of a helicopter with a lot of inspiration from before, so we wanted to try to incorporate these. But when we analyzed the patterns of moving and controls, it was just too complicated. It was too hard to move the helicopter with the input we had. Because when you're on a bike, your hands are on the bar, and you can only move your head around like this, kind of, and you have your pedals going forward. So you have very limited input. It's too complex, too many degrees of freedom, so we skipped it. Instead, we made an airplane game. This is our first playable prototype. Yeah, it's in a bit of open terrain. You see your cockpit there, and there's the camera. You can see the head sticking out. This was, within the first week or so, it was still incredibly hard to control. Had so many challenges in it. And the Google Cardboard, which we developed for in the beginning, got the nickname Sickbox because it was really sickening to try it out. The camera was grinding the ground a lot, and it was hard. But we continued. We got a bike for $50 and hooked it up to a Raspberry Pi. This is our CEO. He's playing a later version of the game. It's nice. We had a high score list, and we got a few minutes of workout every day for work. So we dumbed it down a little bit, and we made a car game. We thought that would be like simple enough. It's our first car. It's our first track. And we kind of spiced it up a little bit. We had heights. We had, you can see there's a jump there in the middle. And it worked pretty good. Like it wasn't that bad to go. It was much better than we thought it would be. The physics were really off. It was not realistic at all. But you didn't notice any cyber sickness. Oh, yeah, this is first-person view. And this is just a funny fact. VR is supposed to be in scale, otherwise it feels pretty weird. But here, we didn't really know it at this point. So we have 20 meters walls and 50-meter highways, which we go around on. So the scale got better. Fast, we tried the more, say, donut-shaped stuff. But that didn't work so well either, because when you look at one direction all the time, the body starts kind of angling off a little bit. And so we had to scrap that as well. This is a later version of the game. And now we have worked a lot with the physics. We've looked up how much torque does an engine have, how much does it accelerate usually, when does it flip, when should it flip, what's the friction between walls and stuff like that. Because there was always a balance. We wanted to make it a bit simple to control, but it shouldn't be cyber-sick inducing. and it should still be somewhat realistic. So we had testers throughout all the time. Basically, people would come by and try it out, and people would complain less and less about the cyber sickness. So we kind of nailed it down. This is the complete track. It's pretty short. It's like a 1 minute experience because people went all out. I tried to make it very short. But we dumbed it down a lot. You can see there's no terrain around because terrain can also induce sickness when you see that you're moving a lot. And yeah, cars can flip and such. So yeah, the result of this is that some deceleration, acceleration, and some vection can be cool. We think it will be better if you have intuitive stuff that can connect with it. If you convince your brain a little bit more that it should be real, then we think it should be better. But that's a pure hypothesis. We did, though, discuss the product very often, every day, almost, but several times every week. And every decision choice we had, we made it simpler and calmer. Because with the input we got from prototypes and from all the users, we really felt that we wanted to make it the better choice was always to make it more simple and more calm. So that's what we believe, and we practice what we preach. This is our game released 3 weeks ago. It's just a card game, so you sit completely still in an environment and you play cards. It's as casual as it can get. To summarize this talk, VR is coming really fast. We believe that Karma games are going to work very good and very well. They're going to be suitable for a very, very large market, which is going to be casual gamers. And that's about it. We're doing VR in Stockholm. We are hiring, so if you like VR and you like Stockholm, that's a good match. If you like VR games in general, you can check us out on Facebook, and that's my email if anyone ever want to talk. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. All right. It was a great talk. I appreciate that. It's fun to see people pioneering, and you're certainly doing that. But I'm a little confused about a couple of things.
Yeah, go.
One is that I'm just like, a lot of this is new to me, so hopefully this question is reasonable. But we watch movies, and when we watch movies, we go through environments all the time. We race cars, and we go down mountains and fly airplanes, but we don't get, you said that 85%, up to 85% of people are getting a sickness with this. What's the difference between really this and a movie experience?
Up until this point in your life, the only thing that has occupied your whole field of view has been reality. You always had this frame where you kind of look at the movie, and then you have all these reference points which are standing still. And around you, that's where you notice speed. Like your central part of the eye, notice colors and stuff like that. And your, what's it called? Your spectrum around you, notice objects moving. So now you have everything is moving around you. And the brain doesn't have any reference points to know if it's moving or standing still. In those previous experiences you mentioned, when you watch movies and such, it always has reference points which can tell it, now we're standing still.
Okay, so we have some sort of subconscious that's recognizing that this is not a real experience. We're not really immersed in the movie the way...
It doesn't matter if it's real or not, but it's that the inner ear, which says you're sitting still, and the eyes, which says that you're moving, there's a mismatch here. And that's what feels really bad.
Okay, that helped, thank you. One last question was just, could you explain your target audience for casual, like this casual game that's in the VR? Who is your audience? And that was my last question, thanks.
It's a great question. So we're not completely sure about this. There's a lot of kits out there on the market, but there's not so many numbers about who uses them. But it would be for the people that are not more console gamers. That's about it. That's all I know, or can say for certain.
Great talk. Nicole Zaro from Zio Design, and I was really excited to be here this morning, especially because casual games. I'm giving a talk at 3:30 here about 5 design tips for better VR games.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so I really like the premise of your talk. I was curious about if it's casual games that there's an opportunity space. Totally agree with you. Why are you doing flying and racing games in the demos? Because those are not casual so much.
Yeah, true. So the flying game that we did, that was, I think, our 3rd day of the company started. So at that point, we didn't know that casual games would be our thing. So we started focusing on it more and more, and we kind of realized that it was a really good choice.
So then, could you just give us a thing like what about casual games, or what are like what are your top 3 kind of casual games you think would work really well in VR?
So casual games, we don't mean casual games the same as it's in the App Store or like when you have the Match 3 kind of stuff. We're talking more about casual. It's very easy to pick up. It's low barriers of entry. Easy to start playing anytime, stop playing anytime. There's no save and load times. So it's more games that fits the gaming pattern which mobile has kind of helped evolve. So calmer experiences.
Okay, yeah, because I think there's some real opportunity in the game mechanics that have exploded in the casual market. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
Probably are.
Yes, Luca. Actually, I've been working or looking at VR for a couple of years now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, since the DK1. So my quick question is, what about kids? Are you guys, because obviously there are some issues, like I know Sesame Street, we're still contemplating, do we use it, we don't, because obviously depending on the age of the kids and so forth. But I think there are big opportunities with kids and education, obviously. So what are your thoughts on that?
We haven't focused specifically on kids. We know that the Samsung Gear, I'm not sure about I think it's a new age. Yeah, it's 13 plus, it was before. I'm not sure it's going to change. But we're following the hardware, what they say, or the hardware makers. And right now, kids is not a prime audience.
Hi, thank you for your talk. My name is Dory. I'm an avid casual gamer. And my question is that I usually play casual games while on the bus, during your talk, while watching TV. That's what we do, in our bed with my girlfriend. And this is really not casual, putting those, VR things on. So I was wondering about your game that you mentioned, the Solitaire. Do people play it, and if so, when?
Very good question. So more specifically about when you should play our games, I'm
asking specifically about the game that you have. If you see users, when do you see them?
So we released the game 3 weeks ago now. Our data guy has been on vacation, and I have as well. So we haven't looked at it so much. We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, my name's Seth. Great talk. Excuse me, but I missed the beginning, so if you covered this already, my apologies. But just curious to get your feelings on the various hardware platforms and which ones you're betting on.
We're a little bit platform agnostic. We don't know which one is going to be the most popular one and who are going to buy it really. But like I said, we see a lot of advantages with using a cell phone as the computing device and for display. Are you building for cardboard? Now we're building for Samsung Gear VR. Yeah, but it's amazing. The input devices you have on the more powerful equipment is really cool. So we're seeing.
Cool.
Yeah, we tried it on. Unfortunately, the gyro is pretty bad on the phones we have. It's Note 4, so it's business phones, and the gyro is really bad. So it's kind of a crap experience.
Thanks for the talk again. I was just wondering if you can speak more about the Solitaire game, actually. What are the mechanics? How do you interact with the cards? Very interested.
Sure. So Solitaire game, it's a card game where you move cards around, basically. We started just kind of replicating reality, and you pick up cards and put them down, but with your eyes instead, or a touchpad. But in the end, we just kind of simplified as much as possible as well. So you interact by looking at clickable objects, which can either be buttons, that's like undo button or restart button, or it can be at a card that has a valid move. And if you look at that, you see a small indicator, and then it auto moves to a place. No, you focus on one card, and it goes like click, and then it just goes to any place it can move, if it can move.
Oh,
automatically. We had people were complaining a lot about a lot of head movements, like going back and forth like this. So, yeah.
So if there's multiple choices of where you can go,
Then it loops around, yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. I was wondering, what's the monetization model of the VR poker game? Is it premium or is it free to play with in-app purchase?
This is completely free.
Uh-huh.
There's no revenue connected to it at all. So this
Okay.
was more a strategic choice for us to get something out of the door,
Mhm.
to learn as much as possible, to get a platform we can get some data,
Mhm.
and there's no revenue connected to it. Maybe in the future.
So in the future, what the monetization model you're thinking?
So we like free to play a lot.
Uh-huh.
So it's I can't guarantee, but most of our games will be free,
Uh-huh.
and then we're talking about buying extra episodes inside the games. That's the most likely thing right
Okay.
now, but it depends on how it will work in VR. We don't know how people will react to in-app purchase in VR.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Is that it? Oh, one more?
Hi, thanks for your insight. Just thinking about the commercial model, if you dismiss the linear entertainment, like movies, do you feel that casual games will drive sales of the VR units? Because typically early adopters are core gamers for this sort of thing in terms of games. Or do you see casual games being supplementary to the people who've bought the VR headsets for the linear entertainment?
It's a good question. I think it can definitely drive we think it can drive the mobile hardware, and that's where we're focusing right now. But we think it will have a lot of, how do you say, positive effects inside a home. If it comes in at home at some point, if I would pull it in, then my father could play some casual games on it. But as you say, the main segment that drives the early adopters are core gamers.
All right, give it up for CA. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.